Okay, let's take a look at this problem. I'm going to start with the left side, of course, and I can rewrite tangent as sine over cosine. And then down here, I can rewrite cotangent as cosine over sine. So let me multiply all of the top by cosine, all of the bottom by sine. See where that heads. Okay, so multiply the top part by cosine. Hope you can read my writing. And I meant to multiply the bottom part by sine. Okay, sine. Cosine times sine squared is cosine sine squared. Cosine times negative sine over cosine gives you a negative sine. Down the bottom, we got sine times cosine squared is sine cosine squared. Sine times negative cosine over sine gives us negative cosine. Well, I can factor a sine out of the top because they have that in common. And what's that give us? Cosine sine minus 1. On the bottom, I can factor out a cosine. Oh, this one works out pretty nice. I see it now. So this is sine cosine minus 1. And cosine and sine is the same as sine cosine, so those cancel. And we're left with sine over cosine, which gives us tangent. What am I messed up? Tangent squared. Okay, sine squared minus. Let me look at the problem on the phone and see if I wrote it down right. Or I took a picture of it. So sine squared minus tangent, cosine squared minus cotangent is equal to tangent squared. Okay. I rewrote tangent as sine over cosine. Cosine over sine. I multiply top. I can't multiply. Okay. Start over. I can't multiply just the top by something different than the bottom. What am I doing? Okay, so to get rid of the fraction, I have to multiply everything by sine cosine. So I'll multiply that by sine squared minus sine over cosine. And I'll multiply the bottom part by sine cosine. Okay, so sine cosine times sine squared gives me sine to the third cosine. Sine cosine times negative sine over cosine, the cosines cancel. And I got minus sine squared. On the bottom, sine cosine times cosine squared gives us sine cosine to the third minus sine cosine times cosine over sine. The sines cancel, gives us cosine times cosine or cosine squared. Okay, so the top I can factor out a sine squared. And that leaves us, what does that leave us? Sine cosine minus 1. And on the bottom, I can factor out a cosine squared. And that leaves us sine cosine minus 1. So sine cosine minus 1, sine cosine minus 1, those cancel. And I got sine squared over cosine squared, which gives us our tangent squared.